Welcome back to the What About AI podcast. I'm Sean,
Hey guys, I'm James Perkins.
and the topic we have for you today is that new graduates are getting crushed, and there is some unfortunate data to prove it. So the numbers are looking pretty stark for new grads out there. Right now, the new college grad unemployment rate is approaching 10%, which is the highest it's been in a number of years. And this is all during a supposedly strong economy with a relatively low overall unemployment rate. So, James, I'm curious your take on this. What have you heard? What have you seen?
Well, going back to like October, November of 25 last year, I don't think I had ever heard Elon Musk and Sam Altman. Sam Altman's the head of OpenAI, ChatGPT. Elon Musk heads up X and Grok AI. I don't think I've ever heard them agree on something. But I remember within like 2 weeks of each other, they both said on different podcasts, different interviews, that working in the future is basically going to be like a hobby, like playing a sport or a video game, and no one's going to have a job. And they specifically both said that they wouldn't recommend anyone go into college for a career right now unless they wanted to do it for personal reasons. And Musk said that again recently in another conversation. He said, like, if you go to college or higher education, do it for the friendships you're going to make and for the socialization. Don't do it for a career. So that's what you're hearing from these titans of AI. And I'm seeing it personally. I have an 18-year-old daughter. She's considering what school she's going to go to, and she's asking me these questions. I mean, I'm giving advice professionally, and I'm trying to advise my daughter at the same time. And the truth is, I told her that by the time she's my age, there's not going to be many jobs for humans to do. So I'm trying to give her sort of the same guidance that I'm giving some of our customers around how to handle this in her personal and professional life.
Sage advice for sure, and obviously a lot changing very rapidly for, new grads, younger folks in the workforce, and it seems to be quite a different picture for them versus everybody else. So some other data that we've uncovered here in our research, something that came out from the Dallas Fed research earlier this month among young labor market entrants is that they call it the job finding rate, has held steady, but only for jobs that have low exposure to AI. Those that have a higher exposure have been affected pretty dramatically, which is an interesting statistic. I think it makes sense, but probably doesn't make anyone feel any better. So it's not random. It definitely does appear that there's some patterns in this data in that jobs that can be targeted by AI seem to be, and that seems to be pretty devastating for younger grads at the moment because those numbers continue to get worse and worse. So curious, what does this mean for younger graduates? Like, what is this all doom and gloom for them, or like what is it they can do?
No, I don't think it's doom and gloom. I think, I mean, we're going through a phase shift. We've talked about this a little bit before, but effectively, you can't reasonably predict what the next 50 years will be like, whereas every generation before us could. There might be some technological advance or some changes, but for the past 200 years, you had a rough idea of what your kids were going to go through and what they were going to encounter. And you could advise them based on your personal experience to survive in that world. That's not the case now, outside of the fact that you can get your kids, college grads, recent grads, kids going into college right now, to engage with AI and think about how they're going to use it in the career they want to pursue or in whatever they're pursuing in terms of a job. You said that, AI is going to take more and more jobs with kids coming out of college, 10% already, reduction in hiring. I'm seeing that. I'm seeing that with my daughter. We're doing college tours, and you used to, whenever you did school tours, I remember when I was going to college, they would announce what percentage of their student population that graduated were employed coming out of the school. And that was something they touted as like a success metric. Schools aren't doing that anymore because they can't make that promise and they know it. So I think, what can young people do? I think embrace AI right now. Start thinking about how you're going to use it for whatever profession you're in. And don't think that any career is safe. Yes, it's coming for knowledge worker jobs, database jobs, and that's the AI piece. But AI may as well be married to robotics, right? They're two sides of the same coin. So right
Definitely right.
now, yeah, AI is super advanced. But in 2 years, robotics will be powered by AI. And then those jobs that are manual labor skills and trades, they'll be coming for those jobs too.
True. Yeah, it does really seem to be a safe haven and probably no way around learning and as much as you can about this technology and then being prepared to leverage it with whatever opportunities are available. That was another point I was going to talk about here because our research has reflected that as well also. I call this kind of like the pulling up the ladder effect in that companies are they're kind of skipping the entry level model that they used for decades, maybe generations, right? Where you would I think about from like a developer perspective. Like earlier in my career, I was hired as a junior developer, which was a very effective way to turn me into a senior developer. The problem is, I think what we're seeing companies do now, and I'm curious your take on this as well too, is they seem to be pretty direct about foregoing that whole strategy anymore, and they're simply just fairly unapologetic about looking to kind of skip that in favor of just leveraging technology that essentially can do the junior developer role now. The question I think that poses is, well, does that, if we're not making new junior developers now, how are we going to get more senior developers? That was something I was genuinely worried about 6 months ago. Although now, based on what I think the technology is capable of, I don't know that there's going to be senior developers eventually as well either. So maybe that's the wrong thing to worry about. What do you think?
I don't think it's the wrong thing to worry about. I think it's a reasonable concern based on everything we've known in the past. But the reality is, the thing that separates a junior developer from an experienced senior developer is mostly time, right? Someone that's been in the business for 30 years, writing code, knows to build for standard outages that happen, knows to accommodate certain error conditions that are going to come up, just because they've been burned in the past, and that experience matters. The junior developers are book smart. And right now, AI is equivalent book smart or better, right? If you spend 4 years in college studying computer engineering and you graduate with your degree, you may have messed around with 3 or 4 different programming languages. You may know some things about certain infrastructure, but you don't know everything. The AI tools that are available today do. They know every single API spec. They know every single programming language. They know, I mean, there's a lot of security gaps in the AI code. I know that right now, but they know what to look for and how to do info security analysis. So that's why you're seeing a significant downturn in low-level jobs, entry-level job hiring, because AI can do most of that already without a whole lot of fine-tuning and custom work. But again, with the senior devs, is their work safe? No, because AI can learn 1,000 instances of AI can learn a lifetime of engineers' work in a year, right? And that's what's happening right now. Every time you use AI, every time AI gets new information fed into it, it's becoming better, stronger, more knowledgeable. So that experience that's baked into some workers that have been in the field for a long time will be replicated soon too. So I don't want folks to think, oh, I've been working for 20 years, I'm safe, or I'm retiring in 5 years, I'm good. No, you're not. You still have to embrace AI and figure out how you're going to use it in your day to day.
Yeah, it's really not an option anymore. It really is a requirement. I think also probably a good way to think about this, because I want to wrap up here with whatever best advice we both have for either those that are part of the younger workforce and new grads, or maybe their parents or family members who are worried about this for them and want to figure out ways to help, is what type of advice we have for them based on building off of what you said. I would look to maybe recommend they shift their mindset from thinking about junior developer, senior developer, even using that construct. I would focus instead probably more on you need to be an AI engineer. You don't need to be a junior engineer. You don't need to be a senior engineer thinking about a path to either of those. You need to figure out how to do all these things with AI. So learn the coding, sure, but quickly shift from focusing on the syntax to figuring out how to strategically leverage these tools in order to make yourself significantly more productive than either of those two options have been in the past. And then another topic I want to hear your perspective on as well too is that professional services option versus the trades. So that earlier statistic I shared seems to indicate that folks seem to be, trying to make their way towards trades at this point. I want to hear your perspective a little bit more, go deeper there in terms of like how much life you think that actually have, or if folks that are thinking of that maybe as a safe haven or a good future, how much protection they have or don't because of the changing tech.
I'll answer your last statement first. I think trade jobs, I would never dissuade anyone from going into the trades. If that's your passion and you are interested in that, do it. But don't do it because you think it's safe. The reality is, it's not. Those jobs will be gone too. You might buy yourself 2 more years or 3 more years, but you're not going to buy that much time. And if it's not something you're passionate about, you're just going to get burnt in the end. I think the advice I would give all parents or anyone watching this that might be entering college or just recently graduating college or in college is do what you're passionate about. Because even as AI progresses and robotics advances, the one thing that is going to remain human is the combination of skills that we have and the passion that drives us. Robots can lift and push and pull and move atoms and do things, but they can't taste or smell. They'll be able to eventually. But if you follow your passions, your heart, what you believe in, you'll be able to use your unique humanity to build things that matter to people or do things that matter to people. And most importantly, do something that matters to yourself. That's still important. Now, in the meantime, you might be saying, I need money to live. What am I going to do for my day to day? You still have to find a job. But again, do something that aligns with your passions. Everyone has talents, everyone has skills, everyone has passions. Ask yourself what those things are and then follow that path. And we can advise you if you need help. I'll mention that too. What do you think, Sean?
But yeah, I would build on that with the advice I would give at the same is basically don't think of, you know, any physical jobs or trades, which I've done myself personally. Like while I was going through school, I worked as a mechanic. I learned a lot of really valuable skills. I still have, that knowledge now today, and it comes in handy from time to time. But don't think of that as a safe haven from this disruption, because I also believe it's coming for all different types of jobs. Doesn't matter if it's knowledge work or, physical work. Like you said, it may be slightly delayed as robotics kind of catches up, but I think it's going to accelerate maybe even faster because it's going to be empowered by AI having been that much mature because of all of the experience that it's gained over the past however many years. So don't think of that as a reason to essentially think you can like skip this phase. This isn't a phase. I would say this is a fundamental shift in maybe the way the global economy works, and everything is going to be affected by it. So agreed. I think it's good advice. If you're passionate about it, it's something you wanted to do to begin with. It makes sense, but you're going to have to learn these things still. Don't think of it as, I can go do this and then I'm not going to be affected by these things. I don't need to learn these things because it's not going to affect that work. I think that's bad advice.
Yeah, and for anyone watching this, it probably sounds scary as hell. Just to give some calming message, we are very optimistic about where this is going, and we see it's hard to see around the corner, right? Like once we go from the way we live today to having abundant AI and robots everywhere, it's almost unimaginable. It seems like sci-fi. But we've put a lot of thought energy into where that's going. And over the course of these podcasts, daily, weekly, etc., our newsletters, you're going to get a lot of that. So stay tuned in, read the newsletters. However you receive information best, we're going to provide it. And we'll be there to kind of help guide you through this major transition in life.
So yeah, that's what we got for today. Let me know if there's anything else you would add, James.
All right, that's all. Thanks all.
Thanks, guys.